So Honor and Glory is the one we've already got. So we've been playing with a few of these cards already. So our opinions may be educated somewhat.
More opinion. Oh, there we go. It's just behind. Okay. We have some cards. Let's start at the top and work down in what appears to be alphabetical order. So I actually haven't played on these cards yet. So I'm curious to see what people think. So we've got Bayushi Yajiro up first. So 3 fate cost, 3/1, and I should note actually one of my favorite Scorpion characters from the fiction of the old game, the Scorpion that doesn't wear a mask. While this character is participating in a conflict, ignore the effects of each status token on each participating character. You'd like to start with that, Eoin, maybe?
Yeah, okay, it's interesting. This is kind of continuing the theme of uniques being a little understated. Yajiro as a 3/1 for 3 is a little bit down, but I think that's also because he's got that magistrate trait, and the magistrate trait seems linked to some characters don't contribute or something doesn't contribute to the conflict. They outlaw something effectively. So he outlaws honor, dishonor tokens mattering. So he's interesting. He's 2 glory as well, which is relatively high, but it's not going to matter because, you know, you're going to ignore the effects of status tokens when he's participating. Interesting fellow. I'm not sure he's going to see a lot of play immediately. He is a Bushi. He is 3 military strength, which is relatively important for him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Scorpion. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to see a lot of play with that guy. They like dishonoring people and don't like that dishonor then not mattering. So we shall see.
Yep. Okay. I mean, I guess that the other side of that is that, you know, often as a Scorpion, you will certainly end up dishonoring a lot of your own characters, particularly your courtiers as costs to a lot of your events. So maybe he can actually swing it in your favor quite a bit.
I've got a question about this guy, actually.
Sure.
Does the fact that he ignores the status token, so that means obviously he ignores the booster buff of honored or dishonored, or a booster debuff of honored, dishonored, but does he also ignore the fact that something is dishonored? Can you then dishonor something as a cost, or can you re-honor something as an effect, or how does it work in the stats?
You ignore the effect. You ignore the effects of each status token. The status token is still there, so they would still have the status token.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me the only standout about Yajiro is he's 3 military, which is kind of a rarity for Scorpion. They don't have that much, so it's yeah. That's but apart from that, I'm the same. I'm not sure where he fits right now.
Yeah, maybe in a deck that doesn't yet exist, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep it moving for now. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get bogged down on a card before too long.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Ujaki is only Ujaki is 6th in the list, so we'll get to him before too long. Okay, Frostbitten Crossing, a air roll. An air roll province. Action during the conflict at this province, choose a participating character, discard each attachment to that character. Baz, Dragon player, you're a fan, I take it.
It's kind of scary, but it's Crane only. And while it will have a big effect on some of the Dragon decks, I'm not sure it's going to be consistent enough across the other clans to make it worthwhile playing. And now you'll always grab a Fine Katana or an Ornate Fan, and like 4 province strength is decent, so it might actually defend itself, which is kind of nice. But it doesn't get the card from Fertile Fields, and it doesn't get the fate from Manicured Gardens, which is consistent and reliable across the way. In addition to that, From the previous pack, we have Finger of Jade, which I think Dragon are going to be playing a lot. And from this pack, we'll get onto it later, there's Pathfinder's Blade, both of which cause some problems to this particular province. So I think if Dragon turns to be one of the more dominant clans, Crane could certainly sub this in, but I don't think it's going to be worthwhile for Crane to play it across everywhere. Yeah, so I'm not worried about it. Crane aren't going to play it. It's fine. Move along. Nothing to see here.
Anyone else have opinions? Think it has value as like a sort of surprise province that people don't see coming?
It's air roll only, so sure.
Oh, air roll only, yeah, of course.
There's only maximum two factions that could play it, and currently there's only one air roll taken currently.
Yeah, only Crane.
Just Crane.
Yeah.
So it's just Crane. So do we really care?
No Crane players on the panel, so it doesn't matter.
Do Crane care? I'm not sure they do.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Cool. Let's keep it moving. Harmonize, a 1-cost Phoenix event. Keeper role only. Action during a conflict in which you are the defending player. Choose a defending character and send an attacking character equal or lower printed cost. Move each chosen character home. Justin, any thoughts on this guy, this event?
Yeah, this card is glorious. This card is absolutely amazing, absolutely stunning card. So what it effectively does is it shuts down one of your opponent's attacks, one of their conflicts. So basically, most conflicts tend to be one or maybe sometimes two characters attacking. Harmonize basically shuts that down, but it also means that the character that you sent in to defend is now ready to attack. So it's super good. It's much better when you're going second, because if you use this on their second attacking, if you're the second player, like if your opponent is the first player, because on their second conflict you can harmonize, send home, and then you've got more or less kind of a free attack sort of into their provinces, and it also sets you up for a display of power as well, which is another thing. So you can defend, save your province, and then display. I mean, that's 3 fate cost, which is very, very expensive, but the blow up potential is really, really quite significant. So I mean, I've been playing this card and I absolutely adore it. There are so many tricks and so many things that it allows you to do. It's one of the it's really, really good. It's a super, super powerful tempo card, I think.
Cool. Any of you guys been on the receiving end of harmonization? Owen?
No, I'm looking at it. I think it might see some play in Crab with a Phoenix Splash. It's possible. It's like the Crab are hurting for defensive actions, so yeah, something like that might see some play. Between that and the Fury, I can see both of them making an argument for going on the deck.
Yeah, like when you look at it, it doesn't look all that good, and when you play it, it turns out to be vastly, vastly superior than what you imagined it to be. So
yeah, you're able to defend with your highly political character in a military conflict, send home their best military character, and send home your political character, and then attack in a political conflict. And now the roles are reversed. You were able to use your weakness against them. So yeah, it is a pretty awesome card.
And to steal Travis's point, do you think it's the best unicorn card in the set?
It doesn't have a lot of competition, that's for sure.
All right. On to High Kick, a 1-cost event. Technique. Action during a military conflict by a friendly participating monk. Choose a participating character controlled by your opponent. By that character, it cannot trigger abilities during this conflict. 2 influence cost, as is traditional. Baz.
It's a really, really good card. It is. So normally, what you're trying to do is you're trying to send home problem characters so they can't trigger their actions, but you want to bow characters with large scale, because you want to make sure that they don't contribute towards this conflict, but you also want to make sure that they don't get to reassign or defend. Like this is the best of both worlds. You pick a problem character, bow them to get rid of their skill contribution, and then they can't use any actions they have. Yeah, it's really good. The trick is getting the right characters to use it with. Really, you're looking for some cheap monk characters, which there are a few. It also powers up the Ascetic Visionary, who is a card that didn't see play during core, just because it didn't kind of mesh well with the rest of the kind of dragon thing. But it has the action. While this character is attacking, spend 1 fate to an unclaimed ring, choose a monk character or a character with a monk attachment, ready that character. So if you just have the Ascetic Visionary, you can use a high kick and then pay 1 fate to straighten your Ascetic Visionary again, which is pretty amazing. There's also a couple of cheap characters like the Tattooed Wanderer that can sub in. So you can get a surprise Tattooed Wanderer high kick to deal with a lot of problems. Yeah, it's a really good card. It hasn't found its way into any of the decks I'm running yet, because I'm not yet convinced by the quality of the monk characters. But this will be a key component in that deck when it eventually appears.
Cool. Any of you guys worried about this strange new direction for Dragon in the new game, where they get synergy between their cards?
It's frightening. It's very frightening. I think this cost is it's a little bit. I think it's a bit too much. For me, it's a bit too much. You definitely have to set this one up a little bit beforehand, and maybe you can kind of see it coming a little bit. The 1 fate, if it was zero fate, and then if you still had to bow the monk character, or it was maybe I don't know, the 1 fate and bowing, that seems like a high cost to me.
There's no restrictions on who you bow, though.
It's very true.
And then if you bow a guy with a straighten action on them,
yeah, they're done.
It's hard times.
It's very true.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the conditions are a little bit more finicky, but it gives you that additional kind of kicker, pun intended or not intended, over kind of standard bow actions, where it just shuts a character down. And I mean, a little bit more finicky, but situationally a lot more powerful. So I think it's again, not for right now, but soon that card's going to be really good.
Okay. Speaking of unicorn, Ide Tadaji.
Oh god.
4 cost 1/4. Courtier Daimyo, keen go player. 2 glory. Action. While this character is participating in a conflict, choose a ready non-participating character with printed cost 2 or lower, controlled by each player. Move each chosen character to the conflict. Andy, do you want to kick off Ide Tadaji?
Okay, let's go through. That's a very high cost. 4 is a lot, and his stats are, not the most impressive. Political is nice, I guess, but he's not got the most utility in the world just for taking down provinces. But his action, you have to be using him as the first. You basically always have to use him as the first in the first conflict. So for me, anyway, that's what I see, because because it's a ready non-participating character. Controlled with cost 2 or lower, controlled by each player. There's so much condition attached to this. There's like so much. It just seems ridiculous. It's just. Seems so bad.
Can I interject to say that the Go board indicates that he is a really terrible player at Go. Okay, and that is the nicest thing I can say about this card.
Well, he's white stones, right? Because he's collected the black ones on his side, right?
Apparently so, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. Yeah.
It's like the double condition. It's the phase of the moon must be in the 4th quadrant, and the Saturn must align.
It's laughable. It's really like this is just. I can't. This is one of those cards I would say went through playtest, started out being like super powerful, and eventually just got whittled down, put so many conditions on his harpoon because people are like, no, this thing is totally broken, blah, blah, blah. And on the last day before it goes to print, somebody said, okay, we gotta change this. So they put in like 5 conditions on his on his text box, and then he went to the printers. That's how I see this one happening.
They printed Harue. You have to look at those two side by side.
Yeah.
So, lads, I know you can't compare clan by clan exactly, but look at
what the fuck?
Like, I think he might actually see a small amount of play, shockingly, because
Unicorn don't have anything else.
Yeah, but he's actually a 4-cost political bruiser for them, so I can see him seeing some play, and he might. I don't know. He might actually be disruptive enough on some turns, but he's still. You compare him with Harue. Like, if you didn't have Harue in the game, he would look a little more favorable. You'd be like, okay, it's a powerful effect, but it's supremely conditional, but that's all right. But then you look at Harue, and you're like, well, Harue just pulls a guy in, either on my side or on their side, and I could dishonor them if I win the conflict. Like, Tajaji's got one more military strength than Harue. Woohoo! I mean, yeah, wow.
Oh, man, he's mega bad. Like, the thing is, think about it. If you basically can't use him if you're going second, if you're not the player with initiative or the active player or whatever, you almost can't use the guy. The person will just send their 2-cost guys in the first conflict, and then what have you got to use in Tadaji? He can't trigger his ability if they don't have a straightened less than two or less cost guy.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think he's good, but I think he might still see some play because Unicorn's prospects for that week.
Tragic.
I'm really, really grateful that FFG have taken on the game and that designers have gone to the effort to make what really is a fantastic game. But cards like this really, really make me wonder about what's going on. It is incredibly bad. It is incredibly disappointing. And when you compare this card in this same pack with number 6 or 5,
oh boy,
like it's like they're miles apart. Like, when we get to that character, I'm going to be making an argument that says, well, the power level is just so high, we think this character is good, but everything's going to be that way. But when I'm looking at this, it's the exact opposite. Like, it's the disparity is crazy.
The clan that needed it most got absolutely shit on.
So
and the clan that needed at least got the most ridiculous character in the game.
We'll get there.
It looks like we're still in the core set, and this is part of the development. And I think that kind of makes sense, that you develop your core set and you develop your first cycle along with it in the same kind of cycle and the same testing. And we do know that the different clans had different groups of people working on them, and it just feels like the people who were working on Unicorn, God bless them, they were designing for a different power level than everybody else, and no one gave them the memo. And my sympathies go out to any Unicorn players. You guys are all heroes.
Absolutely.
All right. So at the other end of the spectrum, we come on to Akoma Ijiaki, and I think Justin had a thought or two on him.
Oh yeah, where to even begin? Okay.
Tell the story.
Do we need to let people go get themselves a cup of tea or something before we go in here?
We should probably read out the card first, right?
That seems like a reasonable suggestion. Okay. A unique 5-cost, 3 military, 5 political. Bushi Courtier. 2 glory. And action: while this character is participating in a conflict, discard the Imperial favor. Turn each face-down card in your provinces face up. Then put up to 2 characters from your provinces into play participating in the conflict.
Go on, Justin.
Just let that sink in for a few months. Okay, now I will start by saying that you do have to have the Imperial favor. You see, Travis is saying actually that Ujiaki isn't as good as he looks. And
he's better.
In practical terms, that may be true. In practical terms, that may be true. However, what Ujiaki does as a design, Ujiaki undercuts so many principles of the core game design and core game flavor that he is by far the worst design card. He's by a country mile the worst design card I've seen for this game. But anyway, we'll get to it. Okay, so and in fact, it's almost hard to know where to start with this guy. So
start with the stats.
Right,
they're easy.
Okay, Okay, we'll start with the stats. 3, 5 for 5. They're reasonable. They're perfectly fine. They're not anything super.
Compare him to Tadaji.
Yeah, there are maybe a little. Again,
let's not do that.
Compare him to Tadaji. Yeah. It's the whole thing. But the stats are fine. The stats are grand. Absolutely no problem. Bushi Courtier is really nice.
Yeah,
it's really surprising
nice.
The line
really
Bushi
nice.
Courtiers. I thought Bushi Courtier would be much more a crane or a scorpion thing, and much less a line thing. But that's purely it's kind of a flavor thing, I guess.
It actually
almost.
goes with the Lion Pride's Brawler. Lion's Pride Brawler also.
Yeah. Funny how they seem to go together. Okay, so where this character goes wrong. Okay, and as I said, to start with, I will say that there is an opportunity cost involved in this. You have to have the Imperial favor. If you don't have it, he is a 3/5 for 5, which isn't terrible, but it's by no means great. However, when you do have the Imperial favor, and this is if you do have him and you're playing him, this is where things go completely pear-shaped. Okay, so what he does is, we can read the card. You flip up your provinces. Okay, so we now have a significant RNG effect going on here because you don't know what's in your provinces necessarily, or maybe you do. Maybe Tuturi's been face up in your province the whole time. Who knows? But so what he does his ability allows you to essentially gain an enormous resource advantage, ostensibly for a single turn or a single conflict. But because of For Greater Glory, this can spiral into a literally game-ending blowout. A literally game-ending blowout where there's nothing you can do. So as an example, I will give you an example of something that happened to me yesterday, actually playing Alan Ryan, one of the local Lion players. And this is actually, again, I will preface this by saying this is actually pretty close to the worst case possible scenario that can happen with this guy. But it's still strangely hilarious and maybe illustrative. So Ujiaki flipped up in a broken province. I was the first player, but he flipped up in a broken province, so I couldn't attack him to get rid of him. On Ian's military conflict, having bought a bunch of other guys out of his province and having 2 fate left over, Alan attacked in a military conflict. He spent 1 fate and charged Ujiaki into the conflict. He flipped up his provinces, turning over, I think it was, turning over Akoda Tuturi, Matsubayona, some Spud, and I think maybe a holding or something. He'd had a holding face up. So he brought Tuturi and Bayona into play, putting 2 fate on Bayona because there were now multiple Bushi in play. Obviously, he won that conflict because he had Ujiaki, Tuturi, and Bayona into play on his side. And he then played For Greater Glory after that conflict broke my province. And in a game that I had just about turned around, I was completely blown out by a simple combo of cards that, unless I had event cancel, I could not answer. And yeah, that was it. The game just ended right there. So he breaks something. So when this effect goes off, it completely breaks the economic model of the game, because you are getting a huge amount of random stuff into a conflict for free. He interacts to push For Greater Glory, and in the worst possible way. Like when you take a look at other cards that bring people into conflicts, for example, the Spirit Caller, they are very, very carefully worded. Like the Spirit Caller, once the conflict is over, that personality goes to the bottom of the deck. So you're hugely limited in the number of potential interactions you can benefit from. The character comes in, it does its thing, and then it goes away immediately, and it can't be recycled again. With Ujiaki, if they have it For Greater Glory, they can gain an enormous tempo advantage, basically almost guaranteeing themselves a win in that conflict, and then they can For Greater Glory, turning that into basically that's free. That's 3. So basically, effectively 8 free fate on that turn, and then with the For Greater Glories, then basically you're looking at that combo of cards essentially netting you somewhere in the region of 13 to 14 fate, which is basically 2 entire turns worth of production. And that is ludicrous, to say nothing of Tuturi double resolving a ring and just destroying your board position. So, this is so like he's. So when he doesn't go off, like again, this is an issue with kind of binary cards like this. When he doesn't go off, he's really not that good. When he does go off, he's completely broken. Yeah. He works on defense. He works on attack. I suspect that for any other clan, this guy would have said when participating in a political conflict. And for the love of me, I don't know why he doesn't say when participating in a political conflict, because that would immediately get around the charge problem and it would get around the for greater glory problem. So cards which have been kind of slightly bubblish, and I mean, for greater glory can produce blowouts on its own, but like those situations are actually fairly rare, and they're not usual. With this guy, they are now a feature of Lion's gameplay. You can't afford to ever give Lion the Imperial favor, because if you do, this guy will just destroy you. And this is also in the clan with the Colm Spirit Caller. So even if Fujiaki flips on an early turn, you can just throw him in the bin. Then a turn later, 2 turns later, there's a Spirit Caller. I guess I'm going to bring Ujiaki into this conflict. And here we go. Guys in for greater glory, you lose. So there are a really limited range of answers against this guy. And as I said, that's all predicated. I mean, it is predicated on Lion controlling the favor. If they do, the game just ends. Or it can. It has the potential to simply end, and unless you have ultra-specific answers, that's it. You're done. And the thing is, like, because there are so many ways, like Charge and Spirit Caller, to bring him back, it's like like even answers like, I mean, actually we've got guys saying, cloud the mind. Cloud the mind. Yeah, sure, cloud the mind. If this wasn't in a clan that had the Lion's Pride Brawler, Kitsu Spirit Caller, Taturi, which are all cards that also demand a Cloud the Mind. If they're on the table and you have a Cloud the Mind, you simply have to play those. You're almost compelled to play Cloud the Mind on those guys. So saying Cloud the Mind is an answer just doesn't scan, because in that game Alan in fairness had also hit a couple of Lion's Pride Brawlers in the early game, and one of those had been clouded. So I don't know. I don't understand how this guy was designed the way he was. And again, this goes back to something, because like Owen was saying that some people were wondering about why I in particular I'm critical about a whole number of cards. And a lot of that comes down to when you're looking at a card, again, part of this is to do with a lot of years spent in card design, is that you're not just looking at the card, you're looking at what the thought process behind the card is. Like, what is this card trying to achieve? What are the designers trying to bring to the environment with a card like this? And like the issue I've had with the negation is not so much that the negation by itself is a problem, but the negation is undercosted. And we've seen from just basically experience over the years, we've seen that undercosted negation can have really bad effects. I mean, they may not exist now, but it's opening up a door that can potentially let something really unpleasant in. So with things like negation, it's purely the potential is there for bad things to happen. It's they may not. That's fine. That's neither here nor there. This guy is just a walking catastrophe. So I look at this guy and I don't understand how he was designed the way he was, why he was designed the way he was. And again, you just compare him to Tadaji and you just go, what is going on here? Yeah. How can one clan who is, okay, even assuming that they didn't know Unicorn were super bad coming out of playtest, and I can't believe they didn't. I mean, they had to know if their playtest was anyway decent enough. Then you're comparing Tadaji to this guy, and I don't understand. I don't understand how these two characters can, how the divergence in design can be justified. It's boggling to me. So, like I said, I mean, on a practical level, this guy isn't as good necessarily as he looks, because the Lion player has to have, as I said, the Imperial favor. If the Lion player has the Imperial favor, this guy can simply end the game, and in a way that completely breaks. I mean, so again, like when you're talking about Five Rings, you're talking about a game of many decision points, incremental advantage. You're gaining advantage against your opponent in small ways the whole time. You're looking at a game that is very much based on tactical and strategic decisions, outthinking your opponent, making consistent judgments. And the issue with this guy is that he completely destroys that core value of the game. It's just like, I have this guy, I have this, like, I have Ujiaki, I have it for greater glory. Well, there we go. I'm a genius. And it destroys the game experience in a fundamental way. I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, the experience of, I mean, again, like losing to Alan yesterday. With that, I mean, it was, yeah, it's just something I never expected to experience in Five Rings with the way that the game was set up, and it was dispiriting, but dispiriting for the game. You're just looking at it going, I don't understand how this got through and how this was allowed. So anyway, as I said, I mean, my personal opinion might be colored slightly by that, but I've lost enough games in my life at this stage that losing isn't really anything particularly novel. Anyway, that's my rant. And like, I'm worried I'm becoming that guy with like, oh no, it's another Sky.
No, absolutely not. Go on.
But the problem I have with is he's basically, you'll never buy him, right? You'll almost never buy him because he's just too expensive. He's solid enough for what he does, if Lion were just buying him, you could play around that game. You could be like, okay, I have to deny Lion the favor now because they've got Ujiaki out, and I will take steps to deny Lion the favor. But it's because of Kitsu's Spirit Talker is actually, or Spirit Caller is actually the card that breaks Ujiaki. Because if the tumblers align, you're just like, oh, I got the favor. Bow the Spirit Caller, in comes Ujiaki, and we're off to the races. And it means you can happily throw 2 Ujiaki in your Lion deck. And if you happen to grab the favor, or you see an opportunity to grab the favor, out he comes. And Lion have access to a 2-drop with 3 glory in Venerable Historian. So if you really want to grab the favor, you can win a military conflict and then go, okay, you bound out? Oh, cool. I just not going to send this Venerable Historian in, and I'm just going to grab the favor. And that 3 glory is massive for that. So yeah, I think a lot of the time he's, good or okay, and then he's broken. Basically, he explodes in the wrong situation.
As a quick counterpoint, Line do run a lot of cheap characters, so they do have a lot of 2-cost and 1-cost characters. So the scenario that Justin is talking about is a real kind of Line Christmas scenario.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That said, the closer I look at Ujiaki, I kind of see that's a pretty bad dye job to cover up his white beard and white hair. And if I look at his hands, is that a candy cane he's holding? Holy shit! He is Father Christmas for the Lions.
I'd love to chime in on this one if I could.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay, go for it, Andy.
This is more reinforcing of what Justin's saying. But I mean, I was brought on. I feel like I was brought onto this program because my background was as a designer, and yeah, one of the things that I've been an economy designer for games for video games for the last 5 years, and I dabbled a little bit in card game design before that. And what this guy is he is fundamentally broken. So what you do normally, my process would be, if I'm going to create some piece of content or some character for a game, I've done this before. You will create something with some sort of a baseline value of that card. So if you take fate would be a currency that you use in the game in L5R. This guy would have some value in terms of fate that he generates, fate that he costs, fate that his ability will be costed or will have some fate value associated with it, so that we can actually get an idea of what his impact on the game is. Because if you measure everything with the same yardstick, then you're going to have a pretty consistent way of measuring one card versus another. So if you look at his 5 fate cost, for example, you're justifying his 5 fate cost with his stats and then with his ability. So that's the primary balancing right there. So you're going to look at his stats and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to give him 8 points for this 5. If you look at the other clan champion style characters, they're mostly like 8, 9 points for 5 as well for 5. Or, yeah, mostly 5. Some of them are a little bit higher, some are a little bit lower, and then their ability sort of makes up the difference. When you look at this guy's ability, actually, before we go to the ability, let's look at the 2 keywords he has, Bushi and Courtier. Those 2 are the key ones for Lion, 2 of the key ones for Lion. So this would also maybe play a small factor in how you would generate the overall fate value of this guy. When you get to the ability, like Justin said, the way that this guy works and the way that what he can actually do and how much fate he generates with his ability, if you take the maximum potential and the minimum potential, and if you take even the average, this guy is generating so much fate. He's generating so much free fate. And in a deck that already capitalizes and has an engine basically for generating momentum, tempo, generating free fate, it has all the cards, all the support. Like we've talked about Kitsu Spirit Caller, we've talked about For Greater Glory. I mean, those cards, I don't see why you would design into something like For Greater Glory. You design around it. You give Lion an option. I mean, For Greater Glory is one of these cards. When you look at it, it's you've got to think, okay, how much fate is this card generating? Is this one card going to generate? And its potential is very, very high. And generally, it will be worth maybe between, I don't know, 5 and maybe 8 or 10 fate. This guy is about the same, but he's a printed character. He gets to stick around on the board. He gets to keep doing this every turn he's in the game and potentially just completely undermine the entire economy of the game. He is 100% broken. Sorry, that's my rant over.
Right. Well, I mean, as a counterpoint, I think his flavor text is mediocre.
Pepperidge Farm.
I'd like to criticize the artwork, but the artwork is awesome. You know.
Yeah, he's no Tsukune. Flavor text wise.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a whole YouTube episode by itself. So.
Yeah. I mean, just design wise, he's a catastrophe.
He's absolutely. Catastrophe. I agree with Justin 100%. You should never design like this. This is so.
Everything about this guy is. Like it's a binary. It's again like it's one of these binary effects on off. When it's off, he's kind of when he's on, he's just broken. And it's
on a more immediate concern for players, this is going to go in all line decks. Are we looking at 2 or 3 copies? Yeah. Does it really matter?
3.
It's 3 straight away. With Kitsu Spirit Caller, it's got to be a 3.
Yeah. So they're going to try.
If you see him early, you pitch him.
Yeah. They're going to try charge or Spirit Caller them in. You against a line, you basically need to lock down that favor from turn 1 and never let them have it ever, because if they do, you're going to get Ujiaki, right?
Yeah, well, they don't see any lines Pride Brawlers early, because if they do, you are screwed.
Yep.
Okay.
It makes maybe running Good Omen worth a shot as well. I mean, Good Omen was in the Worlds deck. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't run it as maybe a 2 of with this guy in there as well, because he generates so much value.
Yeah. Oh, do you play For Greater Glory? Is Ujiaki just FFG trolling Andy for his earlier comments on For Greater Glory?
This is what I was saying. Why do you design into a card like that? You're just fueling the madness that is like that card. That card in itself. I mean, depending on how they designed it, I said it was going to get worse as the thing went on, with the assumption that they were going to design around it. They've designed into it, and now it just gets exponentially better.
So lock down that favor.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
3 Cloud the Mines. Be ready for this and prepare. God help us all.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Wrapping up. Ujiaki, in summary, a good card for bad players. Kabuki Hero. 2 fake cost, 0 military, 2 political. Courtier Actor. Action, spend 1 fate. This character gets plus X military until the end of the conflict. X is equal to its political skill. So kind of an interesting character. Owen, what are your thoughts?
Another day, another great Crane 2-drop. So Crane have an embarrassment of riches at the 2-drop slot. They've got 5 2-drops, all of which are pretty good, and this guy just adds to the list. he's another guy who can be 4 military on the attack, and you have to respect that. All you need to do is weigh the crane to honor him. He becomes 1/3. Spend a fate, he becomes 4/3, and that's pretty savagely reliable. He's also got some combos with stuff like just the fan, or he's got huge combos with the 1-cost Ashahina, the 0/0, who bows to give someone +3 politics. He's just got tools. Another really solid card. I think Crane can be super happy with them, and there's no cap on that. So if your military skill is up for some reason, you just get to add your political skill on, and that's kind of huge.
Yeah. And as Kurikashi points out, that if he gets honored, he goes to 4 military because
yeah, super good.
Yeah,
and there's only so many assassinations.
And the thing is, what Crane can do with this, which is actually really tech for them, is they can honor him, play the lion splash, and when someone goes to assassinate after you've honored, you can stand your ground, and he's still around. And that's kind of
force of honor.
Yeah, it's massive for Crane.
Or censure.
With a clear conscience, honor a guy and put yourself in a very strong position. This guy's almost definitely going through against most of the good defense for a very cheap cost. So yeah, solid as hell.
Yeah, Crane is 2 blitz.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep moving to try and make up some time.
Sorry.
Keeping on the Crane theme, Kakita Blade, a 2 military attachment, which for 1 fate, it is restricted, and the attached character gets +2 political, and it's involved in a duel. Reaction after the attached character wins a duel, gain 1 honor. Baz, do you think there's a Crane honor deck using this in the making?
Almost certainly. I'm not suggesting it's a good one, but if you give the Crane jewels that will gain them honor, they will duel to gain honor. It's like we've seen this card before. A 1 cost for a +2 with some abilities is pretty standard. The fact that it gets +2 political doesn't actually change much, because all the jewels we've seen up to this point, and not for the remainder of the pack, have been military. So this just lets them continue focusing on the military, but gives them a little bit of flexibility for some of those political jewels, which is kind of cool. Because the reaction is only once per turn, really this is very, very similar to the Honored Blade that the line have. It's a nice bonus. It's a nice extra. I guess you don't have to be taking provinces or winning conflicts to do it. You can still defend or attack, lose a conflict, but get an honor off a duel. So that maybe gives it a little bit more play. It's a nice card. Certainly nothing against it. It will be, I think it'll be a nice addition to the honor deck for Crane once it eventually gets up and running. It'll be a card that they'll bring down to 2 and they'll maybe cut and it'll go back up again. I like it. I think it's the right kind of level for the cards I'm looking for.
Cool. All right, Kamiyari, a 2-cost 3 military weapon attachment. Bushi characters only, restricted. Reaction after a character triggers an ability during a conflict in which attached character is participating, bow that character to influence. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Great card. I mean, 2 cost for +3. +3 is a big number. That's a significant boost. Bushi only, irrelevant. Restricted, sort of irrelevant as well. And the reaction is just so nice. It's so good. I mean, at reaction, anything that bows at reaction speed, that's really, because then you get your own action afterwards as well to follow up on it. Absolutely crushing card. I mean, it's gonna make let go or any attachment. Okay, well, I mean, attachment meta is going to be pretty. It's always going to hang around a bit, I'd say, but yeah, this thing's just super good.
It seems to really change the nature. Like when this is in a conflict, it changes the nature of a conflict completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on?
You just stick it down. You stick it down straight away as your action, and it's active immediately. You're actually not wasting any tempo in a battle by putting it down. I don't think, unless your opponent plays an event from hand. But whatever.
I think that the big question is how many actions there are from characters in play, because as you put together. Like, I think this is the kind of deck or the kind of card that you'll see what decks are out there. You'll see what decks you're having problems with. And if you're having problems with decks that get a lot of actions down and then use those, this goes straight in. And then that deals with that.
I've got a question.
Is this card best in the line mirror match?
Absolutely. It's pretty king in that matchup.
Some pretty good character abilities.
Okay, if you have a weapon attached, does the character that has possession of the weapon, it doesn't count as triggering the ability, does it? No. Does the character, the item itself or the attachment itself triggers its own ability?
It does, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. On to a Phoenix Holding Magnificent Lighthouse. +2 province strength. It's a landmark. Action. Look at the top 3 cards of an opponent's deck. Discard one of those cards, place another on the top and another on the bottom. Justin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like this card. Again, okay, so given that Phoenix are struggling a little bit at the moment, I don't think it has a home right now. But as soon as Phoenix Dishonor becomes properly viable again, then it can be very, very mean. So basically the situation it puts you in is if you are drawing a single card a turn, this controls what you're drawing. If you're drawing multiple cards a turn, it doesn't control what you're drawing as much. But if you're drawing multiple cards a turn and your Phoenix opponent is just going, I am bidding 1, then you are bleeding honor every single turn because of this card. The +2 province strength is not insignificant at all. It can be surprisingly tough to break the province this lands on, and yeah, it's, as I said, it really puts a serious pinch on people, and it can be part of it can, and I'm sure will be part of a brutal lockdown style deck at some stage. I don't think the deck is quite there yet, but I think this card has absolutely tons of potential and is going to be a mainstay in Phoenix Dishonor.
Will you ever use it on a dynasty deck?
Just online to get rid of Ujiaki.
Except that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because they'll just flip a spirit caller and wreck your shit. So
yeah, but not if he's on the bottom of the deck.
So you're going to put all 3 of them on the bottom of the deck, and then it's fine.
And then that's fine. You're okay.
See, Justin, you have the tools. If you're not going to play them, it's your own fault.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
See, they designed around it in the same expansion, even.
I know. Like I said, the deck this isn't quite there yet. But as I said, if Phoenix Dishonor becomes a thing, then this card becomes a key part of that deck. It's really super in those situations. Kind of in other situations. But I mean, it's you will only play this in Dishonor. I can't see anyone playing it outside. But super, super good in Dishonor. As I said, I really like the card.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Then we've got a neutral holding, Miwaku Kabe. Limit 1 per deck, +3 province strength, and it's Imperial. Interrupt. When this holding's province is broken, shuffle this card back into your dynasty deck. I want to break that down.
It's a really bad card.
It's meh. It's super meh. Why would I ever put this in a slot in my deck?
Anyone want to venture an answer to that?
Sorry, Owen?
Just compare it to the Magnificent Lighthouse for a second. Lighthouse gives you a really good ability, right? This one doesn't. This one gives you +3 province strength. Now, there are times when extra province strength is actually great. There is one province on which extra province strength is fantastic, and nearly every other province, it's kind of meh. On a pilgrimage, this is really good. That is the only circumstance in which this is really good. It's the Divil itself to actually get it to stay. Keeping holdings in your provinces is generally a bad idea anyway because it cuts down your dynasty flow. It's just, and it's so inconsistent. If this was 3 per deck, you could at least go, well, okay, I'll play 3 of these and I'll use rebuild and I'll make sure that there's, hey, I can get a +3 province strength back when I need it. But because it's one per deck, you're just not going to see it reliably early on.
No, it's not consistent.
Yeah, it's just
terrible card.
Yeah, for all those reasons. Like, this is a card which is kind of very limited already, and then they said, hey, let's limit it more by letting you only have one in the deck.
And then it just pollutes your deck as soon as it stops you from drawing something that you want from your deck whenever that province gets broken.
You can choose not to trigger that. That's your best bet, is actually not to trigger that.
But then it's useless.
All right, we're moving on. It's trash. Senseis are back. Northern Wall Sensei, dragon character, Bushi. 3 fate for a 2/2, who has 1 glory. It's a keeper role only. Action while this character is participating in a conflict, choose a participating character you control with 1 or more attachments. Until the end of that conflict, that character is immune to events. Baz, do you want to have a go?
So dragon or seeker only. Done.
Okay, so we're not worried about that for a few
No,
months.
Irrelevant until the next change.
Yeah, so it's another 6 months. The ability is interesting, but it only protects 1 character, and because you have to trigger it, you're better off in the defense, so it's borderline. It's not a great character, in my opinion, but you can't play it right now, so let's not worry about it for a while.
Cool. You have been talking about Pathfinder's Blade, so it's
this is the dragon card of the pack. This is a fantastic dragon card. I cannot emphasize how much of a dragon card this is right now.
Okay, so it's 1 military for no cost, and it's seeker roll only this time. Interrupt when the effects of a triggered ability on the attacked province would initiate if the attached character is attacking. Sacrifice this attachment and cancel those effects. So how are you using this?
So current clans I can use it are Crane, Dragon, and Scorpion. So it has to be splashed. Crane and Scorpion are probably unlikely to use it. I wouldn't imagine they would. But yeah, for Dragon, it's an extra weapon for the Knitting Master to unbound. It's free. It's not restricted, which is the first non-restricted weapon we've seen. So you can drop it down when he's already got 2 weapons. And it gives you a +1. That was enough for me to try it out. The ability is actually fantastic. The interrupt cancels the effect of a triggered action on a province. So they Shameful Display, which is one of the best provinces of the game, you cancel it. They switch the conflict type from military to politics. You destroy the Pathfinder's Blade, you cancel it. There's tons of applications from that regard, and it's 1 influence. It is an exceptionally good card. It is actually, in many ways, not in all ways, but in many ways, it's similar to the Crane's Scout that blanks provinces, but you don't have to attack by yourself. It's a really, really good card. I like it a lot.
And have you been playing around at Pathfinder's
Blade? Yeah, I was looking at this. This card actually, swear to God, strikes me as a card for Dragon that they just put in Crab. There's no restriction on it, so you can attach it to the Knitting Master. It's free. It's only 1 influence. Like I don't get the influence. I don't get the influence pips at all. How they're allocated, because that card is really, really powerful, but it's only 1 influence.
It can't be a 3 though. 3 is way too harsh.
No, I'm not saying it should be a 3, but it's a 1. That's a really good card. Why is that a 1? Like you're going to see Raise the Alarm, which is a significantly more limited card, next, and it's 2. Like, how are we allocating the ones? Are all the secret ones all only 1?
Unless they're Dragon, in which case they're 2, because all the Dragon ones are 2 for some reason.
Yeah, you can either do by theme, or you take what the example that I had earlier with Ujiaki, and this is basically, they decided this was going to be an X face or an X whatever their number is card, and then they basically just design it around that with that in mind.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many more counter spells we're getting in this game. I mean, it's like they print cards with all these abilities on them, and then they print, almost as many cards that say no
don't do
abilities. Anyway, I think we've been down this road before. Yeah, it's a really good card. I don't like it. On we go.
And on we go to Policy Debate, which is a 0-cost event. Action. During conflict, choose a participating character you control and a participating character your opponent controls. Your character challenges your opponent's character to a political duel. Speaking of Kakida's Blade. the controller of the losing character reveals his or her hand. That player's opponent chooses and discards one card from it. So, political duel for card discard. Is this a Scorpion card? Looks like it.
I think this is a Phoenix card.
Into that Phoenix design.
What?
I love
with our shitty political.
Hold on.
With our shitty stats in general.
No. Well, I mean, okay, you've got the stronghold and you've got maybe honoring effects, so you can buff a character to be a dueling machine.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yes.
And
I feel like
dueling isn't about having a big character. Dueling is about picking on people. And policy debate is something that you get to choose both sides of it. So you just get your big politics guy and you pick on their small politics guy. It requires very little setup to have a totally unfair scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, just about Scorpion, it's another bid is the most important thing. So if your opponent wants to try win it, they lose more honor. And you have the opportunity to set your bid dial to what you want if you need to. So if you need to get that I can swim, you can bid that 2, and they're going to bid the 1. All of a sudden, you can take out your dishonored character.
Okay. So, then we have Raise the Alarm, a crab event, which is 0 cost, 2 influence. Action during a military conflict in which you're the defending player. Turn the dynasty card in the attacked province face up. Then, if that card is a character, put it into play as a defender. So, Owen, what do you think of this sort of, is this going to be commonly triggerable, or do you think the restrictions make it tricky?
So, right, there's 2 schools of thought for designing Elf of War cards, it appears. One, you put 3 or 4 conditions on your card before anything will trigger. And the other one, you go, nah, it just works. Just go ahead, just do it. Just do the thing, it works. This card, right, works only in a military conflict. Okay. It only works for your defending. Okay. As a cost, you need to turn a dynasty card in the attack province face up. So the card must be face down. Then, if the card is a character, you put into play as a defender. Okay? There's currently no way to stack your dynasty deck to make sure that the card is going in is what you expect it to. So it's a punt in the dark. All right, you'll want about half your deck to be a 2-coster, who probably will have 2 military, with some exceptions. So this card will probably get you 2 military on the defense, and maybe an effect and maybe an action, right, if it works. But the problem is, if someone's worried about Raise the Alarm, they just attack your face-up characters, which they were probably going to do anyway. Okay, then you flip it up. Now, if you get a holding, cool, you got a holding. Often they can be sacrificed and they can be done stuff with. But getting this to hit reliably is just, like, it's free. I'll give it that. It's free. But, like, compared to just putting a Fine Katana in, like, a lot of the time, Fine Katana will fulfill a lot of the same function and will just always work. And you'll also be able to use it on the attack. Yeah, sometimes you will hit big on this card, but it's so random that you've just no idea what you're getting. And the extra conditions on it mean that someone can try and play around it if they want. And can certainly minimize the effect. So
what I'm hearing here is it's Ujiaki's ability, but for free, and no Imperial favor.
I think it's a far cry from that.
It's very, 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 very conditional. And like the best case you have is to charge someone in, and then you've cleared your province, and then hope that it's. Maybe it's the wording that Ujiaki was supposed to have.
All right, we'll keep it moving then, I think, based on that. So, Riot in the Streets, another province. It is a water province with 4 strength. During a conflict at the province, if you control 3 or more participating Bushi characters, choose a participating character and bow that character. Anyone want to sort of pick up that one? Andy, who do you see? Do you see anyone playing this?
I think maybe there's a deck, maybe a clan that has some sort of cat-like thing on it that might run this one.
Nope.
I'm not sure.
I think it's Crab.
Yeah. You think it's Crab?
This
Crab on the Stronghold.
Yeah. This is the Crab Stronghold one.
You're never breaking it.
Fair enough.
We're all Bushi. We've got one.
And the line are attacking.
and 1 courtier, and we have every other one of our characters is a Bushi.
Yeah, Line would consider it, but they'd have to give up Art of War. Art of War is also water.
That's true. But yeah, Art of War. I don't know. You could make a case for it, and because Line are having a lot of card draw from other sources now, they've got the new 2/2 from the previous pack. They've got. I mean, you've got your usual card draw kind of tricks and shenanigans that everybody else has. It could be a really good one. I mean, defending is maybe a little bit more difficult sometimes for Lion. I could see this one making its way in some Lion decks.
And how about Unicorn? Will they put this under their stronghold?
Who cares?
They might. They've got an Earth. The only thing about Unicorn is they've got an Earth province going, and I can see them considering this instead with one of the provinces from the new pack. Because otherwise, you want something that's like having a giant. You like a giant fortress province for your last one, but they might get some value out of this. I mean, but it still is only going to be 4 province strength off their box. That's super low.
And
super low.
Do you think they'd give up Endless Plains for it? Because Endless Plains is water as well.
Why not?
Maybe.
I'm sorry. I'm being a bit of an asshole on poor Unicorn here, but it's really. Unicorn in such a bad spot, man. They've designed everyone else is getting such a power boost, and Unicorn have just stood still or gone backwards.
Okay. Seal of the Scorpion. +1 political strength for 0 cost. Attached character gains Scorpion Clown symbol and the Shinobi trait. How far are we from a Shinobi deck, Justin?
Oh, we're still a bit away from a Shinobi deck, to be honest. It hasn't gained. It's gained a few little tricks, but it hasn't gained enough meat to actually make it a really kind of aggressive force yet. But I quite like the seal. Yeah, giving someone Shinobi. So I mean, we've seen a bunch of the other. In fact, we've seen all of the seals now from packs, haven't we? So we've seen some of them like the Dragon One gives Monk.
You can probably guess the rest.
Yeah, we've seen it. I think we've seen.
We have, yeah, no,
yeah, probably. But I mean, Shinobi is or at least will be, I think, a significant trait for Scorpion, or keyword. I've forgotten which way they're doing it now. In this, are they traits or keywords in this? They're keywords, aren't they?
I thought they were traits.
Are they traits? Maybe it is traits. Anyway, it's a. Yeah, it's a handy trait in Scorpion. It's not, again, like they don't have enough bulk of kind of go forward characters to make anything of it at the moment. But it's pretty decent. It's the kind of card that could start to push out Ornate fans in given enough time. You lose 1 point of political, but you gain the potential of attaching giving a pretty powerful trait or important trait to a non-shinobi, which can make them a lot better. We've seen some of the shinobis as well. Like one of the shinobi support cards so far, and it's really, really good. So yeah, decent card, could push out Ornate fan in time. Not there yet, but there we go.
And just 1 influence cost if you want to counter away the Scorpion.
They'll just dishonor someone else.
I tried to use away the Scorpion in the mirror match. It didn't go well for me.
No.
Shinjo Saddle, a similar theme. Sort of.
Oh dear, this card. Flying Katana is free. This costs a fate.
Oh, and would you like to take this card?
But
No. Cut him off. It's Andy.
Kill the mic.
If only.
Do I get to say something?
No, it's Owen.
Sorry, that exploded out of me.
Go on.
So I'll just say, I'll just let people know what the card is. It's a one cost +1 military cavalry character only item. Action: choose a cavalry character you control. Attach this card to that character. So you can give your saddle
pure value. It's infinite value, literally infinite value.
So high priority action cancellation. card.
Absolutely, top priority for if you're playing against Unicorn. I mean, what else are they going to do?
I mean, one of the things we talked about when we talked about this 6 packs in 6 weeks was that they'd realized Unicorn were underpowered and they needed to get the packs out to pump them up.
Was that one of their justifications?
That was a theory that was voiced by people.
Because if they actually said that.
No, they didn't.
No,
they didn't say that.
Okay, good.
The quote from Worlds was that Unicorn were more difficult to play than other factions, and that they were decent support in upcoming cycles. Cycles with an S. I think there is little help for them in the first one.
Yikes.
Oh boy, poor Unicorn. Fucking hell.
Okay, next up we've got Shrine Maiden, who's a 1 fate cost character, who's 1/1, a conflict character, and a monk for the Phoenix clan, which is kind of interesting, and 0 glory. Reaction: after this character enters play, reveal the top 3 cards of your conflict deck, add each spell and each Kehoe card revealed by this ability to your hand, and discard the rest. And 1 influence cost if the dragons want to take a Phoenix monk. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, thank God I can finally play High Kick in my decks. Yeah, this card is right now not that great, but yeah, give this card some time, and oh my God, it's going to be bananas. There are a lot of good spells already. We've got things like Display of Power against the Waves, Supernatural Storm, Cloud the Mind. Like, there are a lot of really good cards in that are spells. There aren't enough of them right now. But once you get a deck that can play reliably maybe 50% spells, maybe slightly over, this card is going to be bananas. You're going to be playing this card, and you're going to be drawing 2 cards potentially from it.
Add each, not add 1. Oh my God.
Oh no, add each. Yeah. That's the real kicker.
Yeah.
So the chances are, again, once you hit that critical mass of good spells, then the chance of seeing the chance of this card basically replacing itself is going to get very, very high. The chance of profiting, the chance of actually essentially increasing your hand size with this card is going to go up quite a bit as well. Not right there now, but dear God, give this card time and it will be incredible.
Yeah, and even if you don't manage to draw anything off it, it is still a 1/1 for 1, which we have seen again and again and again in the core environment is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's just a super card. Not there yet. When it gets there, super.
And actually,
great conflict character.
One last point: it does. Phoenix are one of the few clans that can actually drop it at the very end, and then Bowder Stronghold to contest the favor, which is kind of cool. A bit of a surprise.
And get free card draw as well from it. Or well.
Yeah. It's superb. Like, I'm really looking forward to the point where that card becomes like properly playable,
because Phoenix will be broken.
She'll be great. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to the day.
Yeah.
Cross them off on my calendar.
All right, we've got another Imperial Magistrate. We've got the Crab Stoic Magistrate. Stoic seems to be a favoured word of crab characters. It's 3 fate cost, 2/2, with 1 glory, and it's also a bougie. While this character is defending, each character with printed cost 2 or lower does not count its skill towards the resolution of this conflict. Owen, how do you see this guy playing out?
He's interesting. He really benefits from having some movement on the board, so you can threaten him defending in both your opponent's attacks. I think he occasionally will give your opponent fits when they've got all cheap guys out. I think the rest of the time, there'll be a bit where you're like, okay, so they're going to attack with their big guys and defend with their little guys. Critically, he stops your little guys contributing as well. So Crab likes to defend in bulk to maximize the value of the stronghold. And we prefer to attack with our big guys and defend with our little guys. He swaps that dynamic. I want to try him out a bit. I think he's got some turns where he'll be great. I think he's got some turns where he is a bit mediocre. You'll also notice that all of the magistrates, because they affect who can participate in the conflict, tend to be a bit smaller. 2/2 for 3 is fairly poor value. So yeah, he's interesting certainly. I think he will vary a lot about how good he is. Some of the games he will be absolutely incredible. Other games he will do very little. Like if you make him and your opponent makes a Salceda, you're just like, oh, well, that's not good.
But that's fine because then you play away the crab and laugh at him for being an idiot.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty decent because Crab already have a game plan against single big characters. What they're lacking is something to do against a broad spread of weenies, and he does that. Like Owen says, in some games he'll be great, other games he'll be not great. So he's a Crab card.
Okay, so that wraps up for Honor and Glory. Anyone want to maybe each person give a little sort of their summary of the pack, their thoughts? Baz?
Thoughts of the overall pack?
Just spring this on you, just,
best card in the pack.
keeping your toes.
What's the best card?
Yeah, okay.
Shinjo Saddle,
is ridiculous. We can't really look away from that. I think the Phoenix came out well out of this. They seem to have a couple of cool cards. Nothing stunningly powerful, but I like the cards are getting in it. And I'm really interested to see how the policy debate or rap battle, as people keep calling it, is going to play out, because I think it's going to be very, very common. Having seen the effects of the Kazuki Investigator, I think most people should play this. Someone did make the point that it doesn't win you battles, because you're taking a card out of your opponent's hand. If they don't have a card worth taking out, it doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. But I don't know. I think that's still fantastic.
Yeah, I'd say I think policy debate is the best card in the pack, but it's not the most broken card in the pack. It's the best card, but it's not the most broken card.
Andy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think Lion made out like bandits. Phoenix did excellently out of this. Dishonor in general did really well. High Kick is great for Dragon. Unicorn, I mean, you saw how dejected and dispirited I am about Unicorn. It's just actually, it's really disheartening.
It hurts.
It does. It hurts the game. It hurts the game to basically just shun one clan. You basically only have 6 clans in the running for any sort of tournament victories, and it's really disheartening. Well, I mean, if we're saying, I agree with you, but if we're being
but I think Phoenix get
really diplomatic about it, then I think Unicorn are just, oh man. If anybody wins a tournament with Unicorn, that person will be, yes, they should have reached deity status basically, just for being probably the best card player that ever lived.
And Owen. Well, what do you take from the pack? I think
I'm super glad I am not looking at this pack in January. Just think about the original release schedule for a second. I'm really glad we're not seeing this pack in January.
Oh, yeah.
We just had 3 months of triple core, and this is what we're seeing. There's about 9 or 10 cards in this pack of 20 cards which are going to see constructive play. And that's not bad. Some of them are conditional, might come in if certain circumstances change, but I see a bunch of cards here which are going to see play. So that's good.